Hello, I'm presenting my honors thesis today. My honors thesis revolves around event segmentation theory, which proposes that people divide their experiences and memories into events by forming event models in their working memory that uses the current information about their situation to predict what will happen next. When these event models can no longer accurately predict what will happen next, an event boundary occurs, splitting that event into two distinct separate events. It's important to study event boundaries because it's been shown that these boundaries receive additional processing, leading to better memory recall of information presented around them. Because of this, this study seeks to better understand event boundaries and event segmentation patterns in general. Current research has yet to identify what types of common daily events are perceived as event boundaries, and that's what this thesis is going to be focusing on for our first hypothesis, that being that event agreement and alignment will be the largest and most immediate for highly salient events, such as physical shifts in context, events that are physical in nature and that you can see very easily, and events where what occurs next is the most unpredictable, such as someone unexpectedly coming up to you and talking to you. Currently in the research, there's also no information on if event segmentation differs when viewing your own past experiences, familiar experiences, or completely new unfamiliar experiences to you. So the second aim of this study is that we conducted an exploratory analysis into whether event segmentation differs between familiar and novel experiences using a specialized set of analyses. Continuing on to the methods section, the videos used in the event segmentation task we analyzed for this thesis were filmed by 5 epilepsy patients who navigated around UCLA's medical campus with GoPros attached to their forehead. So all these videos were indicative of what we would see if we were actually navigating around the campus ourselves. They were all filmed in first-person perspective, and they did the route 7 to 8 times each, resulting in a total of 38 different videos that were filmed. These 38 videos were then showed to 430 undergraduate students from the U. 267 of them in total were included in the final analysis based on some exclusion criteria. Their task that they were given was they watched 3 of the navigation videos, and while watching the videos, they had to press a button when one meaningful event ends and another begins. And that was all instruction they were given. So they were completely naive to what we were looking for in the event segmentation task. To test our hypothesis on the alignment of boundaries, we had researchers in our lab go through and watch every single video and annotate the exact frame in the video where an event boundary occurred. The measures used in this experiment include alignment, which refers to when in time participants segmented a boundary compared to when the researchers identified the boundary. We will also be referring to alignment delay, how delayed in time the participants' responses were from when the researchers identified the boundary. And we will also be talking about agreement, which is how many participants segmented a boundary within the same 2-second window. Okay, so moving on to the results. This is a little dense to discuss in a 5-minute video, so this is going to be a very brief overview. You can read through the statistics yourself if you would like on the poster. But the general findings are, when we're talking about events that were not event beginnings and were not event ends, what we found did support our hypothesis that the greater agreement an event has, the more closely aligned in time it will be to when the event researchers identified the boundary. Alternatively, event beginnings showed more delayed agreement, regardless of how high or low their agreement was, and while event endings showed less delayed agreement. This is well represented in the 2 example graphs we have right here. This is a great example of high agreement that is very closely aligned in time to when the researchers identified the boundary, which is represented with the dotted line here around 0 seconds. And this is a great example of a more delayed boundary that is a little less highly agreed on. So moving on to the surprise index results, we did find significant overlap between the participants who segmented their own videos and the other undergraduate participants. Moving on to the event boundary type results, what we found was that there was not equal agreement across every type of event boundary. Physical boundaries, including physical context changes and physical doorway, are more highly agreed upon than other events that are less physical in nature and more internal in nature, including social situations, navigation changes, behavioral and abnormal events. And all the event types can be shown here in the chart right here as well, if you're interested in what exact event types we're looking at for this. Big overall conclusions from this. Highly salient physical events and changes in experience are more often perceived to be event boundaries in comparison to events comprising of purely internal shifts that then generate behavioral changes. And this is significant because these physical boundaries will receive additional processing, and the information presented around these boundaries will be better remembered by people. What we also found was that events with greater agreement will be more quickly perceived, with the exception of the beginning of events having more delayed recognition and the ending events having more immediate recognition, regardless of how great their agreement is. And we also found significant similarity in event segmentation of novel experiences versus past experiences,